What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Packers Report. I am your host, Joey Peterson, and on today's show, we got some major draft news to go over for the Green Bay Packers, and today's episode is going to be all about visits. Now, there are multiple different types of visits, and as we get closer to the NFL Draft, you're going to learn a little bit more about each of these. The most common one are top 30 visits. Those are what we're talking about today. Sometimes they're being referred to as 30 visits. We still like to use the old school phrase of top 30 visits on this show. You can also have Senior Bowl Pro Day visits or private workouts. But like I said, top 30 visits, that is what we're discussing today. Basically, they're the most common type, and it's where teams can invite a limited number, 30, hence the name, of prospects to their facilities for a thorough evaluation. We got two new names to talk about as of yesterday. I'm going to break down those prospects. Stick with me because it's going to be a fun one today. Before we get into it, though, I want to be a little bit petty. The Bears now, they just did a draft video, and they got 32 subs off of it. Can we beat them and just go ahead and get 35 subs off of today's video? I want to keep proving them that we're the best channel in the entire NFC North right here at Chat Sports. So let's go ahead and kick them while they're down. They just got 32 subs, and each and every one of you who haven't subbed yet, to sub right now, help us pass our Bears channel. So our number one target we're talking about, or the first target I should say we're talking about for new top 30 visits, is none other than Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver out of Ohio State. Hint, we're talking about not just one Buckeye on today's show. Let's start with Egbuka, though. I like Egbuka. That's it. Okay, I don't love him. I'm not thrilled about the potential of him being Green Bay Packer, but I don't dislike him either. It's kind of like when your sister brings home a boyfriend and you're like, I don't hate him. I don't love him. I just kind of like him. He's fine. And he had a really great 40 years at Ohio State, especially his final three. Fantastic production. 2 years, over 1,000 yards. 2 years, over 10 touchdowns. 81 catches this past year. But you got to realize he's going to have to join the current wide receiver room that the Green Bay Packers have, with Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, who will be a later addition due to his ACL tear, and Jaden Reed. Of course, there's a lot of other names. Those are the big three in this room. And what I dislike most about Emeka Egbuka, when I look at Green Bay's problem, it's that nobody's stepping up as a wide receiver one. That's all anybody can talk about, whether you cover this team every single day, whether you cover the NFL and you want to chime in about the Green Bay Packers every now and then. The big shtick is no one's stepping up in that wide receiver room to take this team to that next level and be the wide receiver one that this team that Jordan loves need. And so then the solution is draft a guy in Emeka Egbuka who has never been a wide receiver one. Can you see how the lines are getting crossed for me? How it's a little bit confusing. How it feels like the solution to this problem isn't a guy who's never been the solution to that problem in his 4-year career. He started off as a freshman as a wide receiver 4. That's totally fine. Everybody, especially when you go to Ohio State, most likely will start off as wide receiver 4. Wide receiver 2, sophomore year, right big jump up, right behind Marvin Harrison Jr. And then junior year, didn't pass MHJ. It's very hard to, I get it. Marvin Harrison was one of the best wide receiver prospects we've seen in the last decade or so, but still the wide receiver 2, and he took a 500-yard step back, and then you go to a senior year, Marvin Harrison Jr. is gone, you're thinking, okay, this is the year. No, wide receiver 2 again, behind Jeremiah Smith. Again, a fantastic wide receiver. Probably, if he was in this year's draft, would be the number 1 wide receiver taken, but still, he hasn't been able to do the thing that Green Bay would need him to do. And let me be clear, I would love Egbuka in the second round. I think first round is a massive, massive reach for him. But there are a lot of really good things about him. He's a willing and able blocker. You don't block, you don't get the rock. He would fit in perfectly in Green Bay. He's got solid hands, only 5 drops this year, 5.8%. It's a really, really good number. And despite his size, he's really, really good in contested catches situation, has really, really strong hands, and also just has the wherewithal to go up and get the ball. Of course, not everybody's a perfect prospect, and Emeka Egbuka is far from one. He was never the wide receiver one at Ohio State. We've talked about that plenty. He's okay when it comes to yards after a catch. He's not a plus yak guy. He's not a minus yak guy either. He's kind of just middle of the pack. And because of his small size, even though he's great in contested catches situations, he does have a little bit of a limited catch radius. So there are things about him, there are traits about him that you might think, you know what, he should be going in the first round. But there's also traits about him that you might think, okay, you know what, let's pump the brakes, and if he falls to us at 2, then let's make the selection then. Let me know in the comment section down below, though. Should the Packers draft Emeka Egbuka in round 1? You let me know right now by giving me a yes or no in the comment section. Josh Simmons was the next name of a top 30 visit. He took his visit to Green Bay yesterday, offensive tackle. He's also a Buckeye. He did not play nearly as much this past year as Emeka Egbuka did. Only 5.5 games of a sample size. However, in those 5.5 games, he was absolutely dominant. Now, I do wish we would have been able to see him go against a guy like Abdul Carter so we could see how he does against, NFL caliber talent. But because he only played 5.5 games, the reason he only played 5.5 games was because of the torn patellar tendon in October. Originally, it was thought to be an ACL tear, knocked on wood. Thank God it wasn't, only a torn patellar, and apparently he's incredibly ahead of schedule of where he should be. Let's break down the scattering report for Josh Simmons. He allowed 1 pressure all year, and it was against Oregon, so a really, really solid, a really, really physical, and a very well-coached defensive front. He's a really, really great athlete, even with that injury, and I don't think the injury is going to hold that back at all as he goes through his rehab and as he comes out of his rehabs. He's incredibly athletic, especially for the size he is, and he seemed to fix his penalties. He went from 17 penalties to 8 penalties to 1 penalties over the last 3 years. So that's a good problem that he went ahead and got rid of. Let's talk about the bad, though. Okay, he's got limited reps against really good rushers. Like we said, only 5.5 games played this past year at Ohio State. His knee tear from 2024, it still has to be vetted. There are still things you're going to have to figure out, tests he's going to have to go through. And I think that's why they brought him in for a top 30 visit. A guy they're interested in, they just want to find out a little bit more about him. That's exactly what these things are for. And Todd McShay actually claimed that he believes, and so did Albert Breer, that there are some maturity issues when it comes to Josh Simmons. When you look at the Packers' offensive line room as it stands right now, like we've been saying, like we've been talking about for the entirety of this offseason, there's not a ton of need at tackle right now. You're happy with Rasheed Walker. This past year, you were happy with Zach Tom. Apparently, Jordan Morgan is even going to be able to challenge Walker at that left tackle position. But it's when you look at the 2026 free agents, you see a ton of guys on that list. Devontae Wyatt, Christian Watson, Sean Ryan, Romeo Dobbs, Tavian Wicks, Christian Welch, Emmanuel Wilson, Zach Tom, Kingsley Enagbari. And then you see Rasheed Walker. And he's in there with a ton of really big names, whether they're restricted free agents or whether they're unrestricted free agents. There's a lot of guys on that list. So the question then is, does Green Bay want to pay Walker, or would they rather take that money and spend it on another one of those 9 free agents that I just showed you, keep him around because they might have the backup plan in Josh Simmons? When you look at the highest paid left tackles, Rasheed Walker is not really going to touch this. Let me just tell you that straight up. Tristan Wirfs at $28.12 million leads the pack. Deion Dawkins rounds at the top 10 at $20 million. I could see, if they let Rasheed Walker hit the open market, he could get a little bit more than he's worth depending on the tackle free agency market next season. But I just don't think Green Bay is going to pay anything near $20 million to a guy like Rasheed Walker to keep him on this team. So like I said, Simmons could be an insurance policy if he falls, if he, gets hurt, or if he in free agency decides to sign with another team. However, I would still disagree with the pick round 1. I'm not going to say I would hate it, but I just think there would be smarter picks to make than a position that you don't necessarily need right now. There's a lot of positions of need on this team. I don't think tackle is one of them with the current state of this roster. He had a really great 2024, though, in 306 snaps. Like I said, it was absolutely dominant. 74.4 overall PFF grade. Pass block was unbelievable, an 82.0. Still has to get a little bit better in the run blocking, but still 0 sacks allowed, 1 penalty. Great year for Josh Simmons, and he's a guy that now is in Green Bay on a top 30 visit. So sound out for me in the comment section down below. Which round should the Packers address offensive tackle? Let me know in the comment section. Do you think it's early? Do you think it's later? Comment your answer. Before we go, Emeka Egbuka and Josh Simmons join this list of 10 other players. Dalton Cooper, Shemar Stewart, Esa Pole, TJ Sanders, Matthew Golden, Mykel Williams, Shavon Revel Jr., Isaiah Bond, Jacob Bayer, and James Pierce Jr. All 12 of those players have now either been scheduled to or have taken top 30 visits to Green Bay. They still got 18 more to go. We'll be keeping you updated as we go along. To make sure to never miss a moment in this pre-draft process, do one thing for me. Subscribe.